So I've been buying up some of these TekProbe BNC connector special probes for my various Tektronix scope that use this interface. I have the TDS 5054B, I've got the TDS 754D. Right now that's dedicated to the audio analyzer, but I could use it for other things in the future. So I picked up the ADA 400A differential preamplifier. That increases the sensitivity on your scope down to the microvolts range. The vertical volts per division goes down to 10 microvolts per division with this. I also picked up the TCP202 current probe. That measures AC and DC current up to 15 amps. And I picked up this 5205 high voltage differential probe up to 1300 volts. I came across another, I wanted a second differential probe. I would have preferred another P5205, but they were going for a lot of money. I got all the stuff I just showed really cheap compared to what it normally goes for. Two of them were untested. The TCP202 I took my chances on, and the P5205, that one also said untested, but the seller guaranteed that it would work or your money back, and it showed up working fine. So after I got the TCP202 and it worked, I noticed at the time that seller also had this P5210 for sale. It was a regular bid auction, and it didn't end up selling, so he put it back up with a buy it now and a best offer option. So I ended up offering him $50 for it, and he took it. So this one actually is visibly broken, and what happened is on the TekProbe BNC connector, you'll see one pin looks to be missing here, and the other pin is jammed down in there all the way. Now these pins are Pogo pins, and according to the manual, this is documented in the TCP202 manual, which uses the same type of connector, when you need to replace them, you can just pull them straight out and then just push the new one in. The question is, how am I going to get these out? So that pin, I think the tip of it broke off on the left. This other one's jammed in there, but I don't know how to necessarily get them out. So we're going to have to look into that in this video. And the one thing that I did do, and it's not here yet, but hopefully by the time I upload the video, I've got it and it's finished. I bought another, there's a TekProbe BNC cable, which is basically just a cable that's got two of these ends on it, and it's used for some of the other current amplifiers. So that'll basically have two of these connectors that we can cannibalize, and I paid $30 for it. That'll give me a total of 14 spare pins to play around with, so that's cool. And maybe if we have to use the whole BNC connector, we can do that too. There was one other option. There's some sort of device called the video clamp, and that video clamp is just this connector with a BNC coming out of it and some electronics inside. That was for analog NTSC video, which is no longer used, so you can get those pretty cheap on eBay too. There was one for sale for like $14 plus shipping I could have got, but it only comes with 4 of the pins, so I figured I'd spend a little bit more and get the cable, so I'll have more spare parts in case any of this other stuff breaks in the future. Okay, so I've got the manual for the TCP202 up on the screen here because it talks about disassembling the compensation box. So first it covers the pins, which it says you can just pull them out with a pair of pliers and push the new ones in. The next step is to remove and replace the interface collar. So if you look at my P6204 here, this is the collar, this plastic piece, and it just pops right off. Actually on this one it kind of almost falls off on me, and it gets kind of annoying at times. But you can see it just kind of sits in those 2 channels there. I've been trying to do that on this one, and it is not coming off. I have no idea if it's glued or what. I've tried prying it up, and it's really on there. You can see, if you look in there, you can see the channels in the plastic just like the other one, but I think I'm going to try some heat and some other plastic pry tools to loosen that up. And then lastly, there's the removing the compensation box cover. So if you look at the cover here, there's these 2 plastic pins, and if you release them you can pop the cover off. You could probably just do it with 2 screwdrivers, but Tektronix made a plastic tool for that, and thanks to Jared Cabot on the TekProbe page, he posted a 3D printable model of it, so I've got that being made on the printer right now, so we should be able to take this thing apart in a few minutes here. Okay, well as you can see I managed to get it apart. Just needed some heat on it and pried it up. I just used a screwdriver. I couldn't find my plastic pry tools, but thankfully I didn't mar it up too bad. So the next step is going to be to pop this cover off once that tool finishes printing. I have a bad feeling we're probably going to end up having to replace this whole ring. I'm not sure if there's any way to push these things out from the inside, so we'll see what it looks like when I get inside. I mean, thankfully I have entire cable coming with two ends like this on it, and I'm actually, now that I see this, I'm glad I spent the extra money on the extension cable instead of the video clamp, because that video clamp, like I said, it only had 4 pins, and I probably wouldn't have been able to salvage this connector off of it if I have to replace the whole thing. Okay, well I see now why the plastic collar didn't want to come off of the P5210 connector. So if you look here at my P6204, I was able to just slide it right off. Now if you look here at these protrusions, those are the two parts that locate it, and they're nice and smooth. Now if you look at now I took this apart, which I didn't show on camera yet, but I will. But if you look at these, there's like a rib there on each side, so that's digging into the plastic. So they must have revised this at some point, probably for the reason that I mentioned of the thing falling off all the time. So yeah, I guess heating it up was the best option. Hopefully it goes back on okay. There's the inside of it again. Okay, so I put it back together so you can watch me struggle to take it apart here. So this is the plastic tool, and there's the two little protrusions there to press the tab. And this flat part on top, I wasn't sure I understood what that was for when I first printed it, but that's actually to get you some leverage, because you got to do this from both sides. So you kind of just you know, line it up with the two holes, push it in to release the tabs, and then pull up, and then go to the other side and do the same thing. I'm keeping my finger here on the left side to prevent it from closing up on me again. And then there's the other sides, and then yeah, it just opens right up. Then you can pull the contents out, and this is actually just a press-in RF connector, and then there's 4 wires that are soldered in. So I'm thinking what I'll be able to do, assuming that the contents of that extension cable that I bought, you know, are similar, but I'm hoping that the black piece has the same 7 pins on it. So there's the 4 there, the 4 there. So we should be able to save this printed circuit board here and just solder the new black piece on that contains the pins. So that is in the mail, and hopefully shows up in a few days so I can test this thing out. Now there's always the chance that the actual differential probe itself is blown up, but I have a feeling that this thing just broke and was no longer used. I have no idea how they managed to break the pins this way, but we'll see what happens. Okay, so I started disassembling the connector. You can see the BNC just, it's not a BNC, but the connector just pulls out. I'm not sure what that connector's called, that press-in connector. And then you just desolder these 4 wires. They're labeled on the circuit board, brown, blue, red, and black, so you'll be able to figure it out how they go back in. So it looks like there's just 7 joints there that will desolder and pull this off. Now I already pulled the good Pogo pins out. They just grab them with the pliers and they slide right out. Set them over here. So I think these ones, the one on the left here, the spring in it must have collapsed, and then the one on the right, I think it broke off. And if you, I don't know if this is going to focus, but if you look really closely, you can kind of see the 2 brass colored rings. The outer one being the, you know, socket that's part of this plastic piece, and the inner one being part of the Pogo pin. So I think if we can somehow grip that, we might be able to pull those out. Alright, yeah, so I was able to get those 2 pins out. Now how I did it was, I used a number 58 drill bit, which is 0.042 inches, and I was able to work it in there. The one that was broken off was a little bit easier because I was able to, now that size, that number 58 drill bit, it was just big enough to bite into the outside ring of the Pogo pin without expanding it so that it would push into the outer part. And I wasn't able to get it at first, but I ended up just heating it up with my hot air station just a little bit, just got some heat in there, and I was able to extract that pin. Then I worked over on the other pin, the one that was, I think the spring collapsed on it because it still had the pointy part. That one didn't go down as far because of the fact it wasn't snapped off, only like 2 or 3 millimeters, but I was able to get the drill bit to bite, and I just kind of threaded it in by hand and then heated it up a little and just pulled out. I already threw those out, but we got the original Pogo pins here. I'm actually going to measure these too, because I wonder if you can get these from DigiKey. They had a huge selection of Pogo pins. That would be pretty cool, so that you don't have to, you know, part out another Tektronix probe end. So anyways, yeah, I'm going to resolder all this and put it back together. And I don't have that cable yet in the mail, so I'm going to pull some Pogo pins out of one of my other TekProbe tools to see if this high voltage differential probe even works at all. Alright, well, I've getting the other one back together. This is my P5210, and I'm going to show you how I remove the Pogo pins. I'm going to borrow 2 out of this one. So I'm using these smooth jaw pliers so they don't mar it, and you basically just grab it firmly and pull it out. So there's one. So here's the one I'm putting back together. I haven't pushed them all in yet because I'm going to measure the last one so I can see if you can buy these at DigiKey. And borrow this other one here. Oh, I don't want to do that. I kind of got it coming already. Alright, so there's the other one. So I'm going to go ahead and measure this and I'll be right back. Alright, let's take a look at this pin. So the diameter, 1.36 millimeters. Now it looks like it gets a little thinner up here. There's kind of like a rib or something right there. I think it might be a little thinner up here. Well, that's 1.36 as well, so maybe that rib is where it catches. Hard to tell. The overall length, without it being compressed, is 21.91, and the length of the actual Pogo pin that sticks out here is approximately 3.5 millimeters. So that's what they look like. Let's see if this thing works. Okay, well, here's the P5210. Now I didn't push these in quite all the way. I left a little bit of the sleeve or whatever it's called sticking up, so if it, you know, worst case scenario, I can grab onto something if they get stuck. But I think there's enough play that it'll interface with the scope okay. So I'm going to plug this in and see if it works. Oh boy, I just realized something. I put this collar back on the wrong way, and that's going to suck because that's the one I had to heat up to get pried off last time. Oh yeah, got to pay better attention to this stuff. Alright, let's see if it works. Okay, I saw the over-range light up for just a second when it turned on, which is normal. Looks like it might need an offset adjustment. I'll have to read the service manual on how to do that. Right now it's on 1000 times attenuation, full bandwidth, and let's try giving it maybe 100 volts and see what it does. I'm just going to give it some DC voltage here. Okay, so that's 10 volts of division. Let me step that up a bit. There's 50 volts of division. There's our 100 volts. Nice. Yeah, I'll just have to see about the offset adjustment. Let's change this to 100x. So that's still 50 volts of division. There's our 100 volts. Alright, so this probe works. That's awesome. So the only problem was someone broke the pins off. Not bad. I mean, I spent $50 on the probe. I spent $30 on the cable. These things normally go for several $100s, so pretty happy with that. Unfortunately, you didn't get to see me salvage parts off the cable, but I actually found out the cable that I bought is the wrong one. There's 2 versions of it. One of them ends in 00, one of them ends in 01, and someone on the EEV blog forum posted that the one that ends in 01 only has 3 pins on it, and I didn't happen to see that in the pictures when I ordered it. I had wrongly assumed that the 00 and the 01 was just a revision on the same part and that they would be the same. There wasn't actually full pictures of the one that I bought. So it looks like I wouldn't have been able to reuse that black connector because I think the outer sleeve is pressed into that, and I'm also only getting 6 pins. Luckily I only need 2, and 4 spares should be more than enough because I don't plan on abusing these things like the prior owner did. So I hope you enjoyed watching that, and you know, one other thing I'm going to do maybe before I go is we'll take a look at the DigiKey parametric search and see if we can find a Pogo pin in their inventory that might work as a replacement for this. Here's a 500 kilohertz 40 volt peak-to-peak sine wave. I've just got the 3325B plugged into a 467A and into the probe. Just a quick test, make sure that it responds to AC signals, so it looks good there. As far as DigiKey goes and finding a Pogo pin replacement, I don't think we're going to find anything there. They don't have a very good parametric search here. They basically just have working height, and I think the other one was plunger size. And I looked through a bit and I couldn't find anything. It kind of looked to me like there was some in the list that might have worked on one of these pages, but I'm not sure. So if anyone in the comments finds something that looks like it would match those dimensions I posted earlier in the video, let me know. Otherwise, thanks for watching.